Davanti a questi e
In the
altri
face of
conflitti,
these and other conflicts in the world, which hurt us both personally and collectively, the question arises: when human rights are trampled underfoot, when there's cruelty and injustice towards entire peoples, ethnic groups and religious groups, is armed intervention always wrong? Can there ever be a just war? We asked Vincenzo Buonomo. He's rector of the Pontifical Lateran University in Rome and a professor of international law.
The first factor, I think, is that we should delete the term war, not only as a word, but as a concept. There is no war, there is not and cannot be a just war. Why? Because the conditions that historically led to the emergence of the just war theory no longer exist. We need only think of the kind of war that is waged today, the way in which it is fought, and the weapons that are used. So there is no rightness in war. Also because very often, in fact, more often than not, war stems from an injustice. So how can we talk about a just war? Secondly, there cannot be any factor connected to a sacred or religious belief that can justify a conflict. Because religions, ways of believing, and perhaps even a morality that embraces the universal human family, imply the need to resolve issues without conflict. Even the existing conflict should be resolved in a peaceful way. And this is where the concept of peace comes in. Very often we realize that there is not peace when there is a conflict, open warfare. Perhaps we're being called upon to change this perspective. Why? Because if we only realize there is a lack of peace when there is a conflict, we are agreeing with those who say that peace is only a momentary absence of war. Peace, on the other hand, is something that we must embrace and build, something that certainly means not fighting, but that also entails security. A security that isn't just military security, it means economic security, human security. Peace is something we all have to live and to build individually and in agreement, we might say. Because only when we consider peace as a problem concerning people do we emerge from the logic of entrusting it to organizations. Entrusting peace to organizations means becoming prisoners of the particular interests that individual organizations, called states, can have or seek to achieve. We've realized that it is not possible to take justice into our own hands if we live within a group, a community, a body. But there is someone there who has to work to ensure there is justice. This transition, which has recently taken place in the community of people, must take place in the community of states too. And this is what we must work towards. Indeed, we are even more committed to working. More than proclaiming peace, we are committed to passing on this idea. When we have organizations on the international level that are able to guarantee real justice, true justice, obviously we will no longer speak of peace or war. Rather, we would say that there's someone who doesn't respect others and consequently thinks they can act alone. Today, in the logic of states, it is still considered possible that someone wakes up one morning and decides to use force to resolve a conflict, to solve a problem that they have with others. Self-defense works until a collective instrument intervenes that guarantees a return to normal. I believe that if this hope was included in 1945, in all the things that were stated in 1945, we must make it our own and try to make it be lived. In other words, I have learned something. A small thing. We're not all doctors, not all teachers. We don't all work in factories, but all of us vote. I think we find ourselves in this kind of framework. Well, here we need to do some lobbying and some training, because we can make our contribution at all levels. It's not just a conflict in Eastern Europe that should frighten us, but we must be aware of what is happening in Africa, in Asia. If we think of Myanmar, if we think of the Central African Republic, of the whole sub-Saharan area, if we think of what's happening in the Horn of Africa, or in Ethiopia, or in Syria, that is, we cannot remain inattentive to these things, nor can we only start paying attention to conflicts and wars, I use the exact term here, only when they're in our backyard. We should really have this expanded heart, and therefore also this expanded attention. That's when we will certainly be a body that reasons and that does something.